All right, we've got a pretty special episode here. I've got two of the hottest Toyotas you can buy right now. First of all, on my right is a Toyota GR Yaris. Everyone knows everything about this, but more recently, Toyota dropped this, the GR Corlla. I've been so excited and so looking forward to driving this thing, but I thought, hey, instead of just doing a review just on this, I thought it'd be a good idea to drag the GR Yaris out and compare it side by side with its very closely related cousin, the Corolla. So I'm here to answer one simple question: which Toyota GR hatchback should you buy? Well, first of all, let's have a look at the GR Yaris. Now this GR Yaris is the basic GR Yaris. It's not the Rally Edition that we get here in Australia, or known as the Track Pack everywhere else, so it doesn't have the upgraded differentials like the GR Corlla has. It has 20 kilowatts less power under the bonnet, but it still has a pretty potent 1.6 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged motor under there. It has a 6-speed manual transmission, a carbon composite roof, it has 18-inch wheels, massive brakes. It's 2 doors only, but you can put 4 people on the inside. And it does have a pretty small boot, as you would expect from a Toyota Yaris, but you can fold the seats down to make a little bit more room. But underneath the boot floor here, we just have some small storage spaces, but there's no spare tire or anything like that. You have your basic things in here that you'd expect from a GR Yaris, like these bucket seats, you have some suede around the interior, you have your GR steering wheel, you have analog dials, you have a heads-up display, you have a pretty basic screen here, but you do get JBL speakers, you have your dial that allows you to control how much power you send to the front and rear, and you can evenly split it between the two in a 50-50 split using track mode. And you also got this fantastic shifter, which I named one of the best shifters you could buy last year. I thought it was a fantastic manual transmission and I really enjoyed using it. Of course, you get a manual handbrake, and because this is more of a homologated product, you do have a WRC sticker here to remind you that it is a homologation car for the FIA World Rally Championship. And this car weighs 100 kilograms less than that GR Corlla, but it does have a little less power. So let's just remind ourselves how this thing drives again. But now this doesn't feel as rapid as the GR Corlla. The GR Corlla feels far more aggressive in its tune. This feels a bit more gradual, but it feels far more playful. So it feels like I can sort of dart around the road and just have like a lot of fun with it. Now, the road noise in here is kind of high as well compared to the GR Corlla, which I find interesting. I feel like the ride's a little bit more busy because it's a shorter wheelbase. But this is sort of what you want in like a rally car for the road. And that's what makes this thing feel so special, is like a homologated rally car special. Now this car's got just under 30,000 kilometers on it as well, because it's a lightly used car, and you know, the owner has very kindly let me use this for the video review here. And it's holding up pretty well. Like the materials in here are really nice, the sound is good, the brakes are good, like everything's just really quite nice. But yeah, that 3-cylinder is so characterful. Like, but I just noticed how darty this feels. It feels way more darty. I'm in track mode right now. So I'm doing 50-50 split with the power to the front and rear wheels. I'm feeling like I have to talk a bit louder too in this car. It just really feels like a rally car monster. Like that turbo sound is so good. And this shifter feel is great. I really like it. It's just so buttery. And I'll turn on automatic rev matching, which helps with smoother downshifts, which I just realized I didn't have on. So that's why my downshifts felt a bit, rigid. And so look, it's a really good hot hatch. That's what this is really good at. It feels special. It's got a great motor. That 200 kilowatts is perfect for this type of driving. You don't need too much more. And look, I've mentioned this before, but you don't really need the upgraded version of this car, the Track Pack, or the upgraded differentials, unless you're doing track work or a lot of B-road driving. That's when you probably need it. But I'm going to tell you now that just for roads like this, you really don't need it, because it's just, a bit excessive for the type of driving that you're really allowed to do here in Australia. And also the seating position in here is really quite upright compared to the GR Corlla. I feel like I'm in a rally seat. My hands feel like they're in a great driving position too. But it doesn't matter how good the GR Yaris is, because everyone seemed to have just pushed it aside in favor of lusting over this, because this is the GR Corlla. It's bigger, it's wider, it looks meaner, and it's also got more power. So under the bonnet, we have an extra 20 kilowatts. So we're looking at 221 kilowatts and 370 Newton meters of torque, which means you get around 300 horsepower underneath this bulging hood. Yes, it's bulging because it's trying to make more room for that 1.6 litre motor under there. The GR Corlla just looks meaner too, because you have functional hood vents up on top, which you can feel the hot air escaping out of. You have more cooling up here with a new front bumper, which feeds that massive air box underneath there, which actually has an inbuilt flap to allow more air to pass through under heavy acceleration. You do get LED lights, which I think look quite good here on the GR Corolla. We get those 18-inch NK wheels, which I think look great. They also look fantastic on the GR Yaris, and we have 360mm front brakes. Those things are huge. Now you also get a functional side vent here with another GR badge on its flank to match what's happening over with the GR Yaris. And we also, of course, have keyless entry and start. Now down here on the side, you have some aggressive side skirts which say GR4 to remind you that this has a all-wheel drive system, but that is just another bit that just feels really nice and aggressive. But we don't have a carbon composite roof on this model here, which is the GTS. Now the factory wide body on the GR Corolla looks so good. I just think it really adds to the look of this car and really completes this GR feel and trying to make it look more like a rally car. But what else helps is this triple exhaust setup, which we don't get on the GR Yaris. So these two outer ones look familiar because it's the same ones you'd find on a GR Yaris. But this center one actually has a valve in it, which adds a lot more bass and sound. And unlike the GR Yaris, the GR Corolla has no pumped in audio. So all your sound is being generated and resonated back here and really aided by that massive central pipe, which just looks really cool and it draws a lot of attention too. But yeah, if you're looking for a practical hatchback, unfortunately the GR Corolla is not going to be something that you want to move house in. But thanks to its larger body, when you do fold down those seats, you do just have a tiny bit more internal space. Now the back seats of the GR Corolla are pretty tight. You have okay amounts of feet room, knee room, and headroom, but it does feel a bit cramped back here. And also these back doors don't open all that much. You have cup holders in the back, but you only have one USB-C charging port back here, as well as a 12-volt socket, but no air vents. You do have a center armrest though, which is pretty good. And it's going to be comfortable for longer trips, but that middle seat's going to be a punish if you put any adults in there. But at least you do have some ISOFIX points back here, so if you want to put car seats in the back, you can. Now in here we have a pretty standard Corolla interior. We have a Corolla dashboard, and we also have a screen that you would find out of a Corolla. But this 12-inch display is pretty special. It's something that you'd find on this car only because it is a GR specific 12-inch gauge cluster, because it's got turbo boost gauges. It tells you how much power you're sending to the front and rear wheels, which I think is pretty cool. You have a drive mode button here to go into sport, normal, and also eco if you want to save a bit of fuel. You have a GR shifter, which feels quite nice. I really like the feel, but I just feel like the weighting in the GR Yaris feels a little bit better than this. You do have a manual handbrake. Of course, you have your dial here, which is for your GR4 all-wheel drive system, which you can control the same way you would in a GR Yaris. Now, there's no center armrest here or center cubby. There's just sort of like this padded area where you can put loose items, which is very interesting. But yeah, it's a pretty basic interior apart from the screens. It just feels a bit cleaner, and I kind of like the layout a bit more than the GR Yaris. Oh, and this car gets heated front seats, you get a heated steering wheel, and I really do like the GR bucket seats in here. They're really quite nice, and I love the suede material on them, and they really hug you in nicely without feeling like they're too bolstered or, you know, too tight on you, which I think is quite good. Oh, and you also have a wireless charging pad in here, which doesn't feel very rally car-like, but again, this is more of like a global product, so the US is getting this for the first time, so they need a car that sort of does it all as well to make it a bit more appealing compared to something like the GR Yaris. So immediately I noticed that the sitting position in the GR Corolla is far more laid back. It feels more like a race car, I guess, or like a traditional hot hatch than it does a actual like rally car. That's until you get going. Now, it's not insanely fast, this car, but the extra 20 kilowatts does feel like it makes a bit of a difference, especially in that mid-range acceleration. It just sort of feels a little bit more eager to move. Road noise is pretty standard in here as well. Nothing too much, it's not that much quieter than the Yaris, I should say. But what I do notice is that the turbo sound is far more pronounced in here. It just sounds a lot more aggressive. And then once you knock this into sport mode, you sort of awaken that exhaust out the back, and it just sounds a little bit more characterful, I should say. Like, it doesn't make a huge difference. At low speeds it does. Once you get up and going, it doesn't make a massive difference. But yeah, the sound isolation in here feels far superior than the GR Yaris, but then again, some people might prefer that to sound more like a uninsulated rally car cockpit, where this feels a bit more like a hotted up Corolla by sound comparisons. The steering feel in here is just that precise. It's really, really nice. And now I've put this thing into track mode to split the power as an equal 50-50 split between the front and rear wheels. And it's just a smile machine. That's what this car is. It's really just so much fun. Like, look, it is just something that just feels far more entertaining to engage with. It just has feedback. It has a manual transmission that's so delightful to engage with. You have your automatic rev matching as well, which just really helps smoothen out the ride. Now, I really like the digital instrument cluster here, and we do get a heads-up display, but it's just not as advanced or as cool as the one you'd find on the GR Yaris, which is set up to have all those additional bits of information, where here it's just a basic heads-up display. Now, your steering and your body roll just feels more progressive. It's not really like too darty, and so for high-speed stuff, it's actually far more pleasant to be in this car. I mean, that's just how I prefer my cars to be set up, is that just more planted and more progressive to the feel, where the Yaris is very playful. And I've been on track sessions where I've seen multiple Yarises in front of me spin out because of the short wheelbase and because people are a bit eager to get through a corner when they probably should have laid off the throttle. Where this, I feel like, would have far less incidences of actually spinning on itself and just be a bit more quicker through corners than you might find in, say, like a GR Yaris. Now we're going through back to second to get ourselves into some top end power. This thing pulls, it's such a smooth motor. For people who are critical of the fact this is a 3-cylinder, forget about it. You haven't driven this thing. It is a really pleasant motor to engage with. I really like how buttery it sounds. It can sound a little bit jagged at the low RPMs, but as you get moving, it's just as you would expect a 3-cylinder, as you would expect a 6-cylinder, and then moving into a 12-cylinder. This thing is just part of that, you know, triple cylinder family, and it's really quite nice to rev out and also just sort of ride along in the rev range. It doesn't really have any sort of awkward spots where, say, something like a flat 4 might have. And so yeah, I just think I prefer the driving experience of the Corolla a little bit more, for the pure fact that it's just more planted. And you get a smidge more power to make this thing a little bit more entertaining at those high-speed corners. But if you're just like doing back road driving and you're not really on the track, then the GR Yaris is a really fun, playful toy that's also a rally homologation car. And so here we are with two of the cars side by side again, and the question is, which one should you get? Personally, I think it's your first time ever in a GR product and you can get your hands on either of these. I would say the GR Corolla is going to be something that's far more appealing to more people than the GR Yaris. Look, the GR Yaris is playful, it's easier to park, easier to live with if it's just yourself and maybe your significant other, or, you know, maybe some friends that you carry around every so often. But usually this is going to be good for one person. But the second you have to carry more people, more cargo, or you want to go on longer trips, that shorter wheelbase, I'm not a huge fan of on track either. I've seen a lot of these things doing pirouettes because they just have a lot more play in them than they would a GR Corolla. And that's what leads me on to a GR Corolla. I like how planted this thing feels. I prefer the looks of this thing. I find it more comfortable to drive around in as well when you want to not be in a racy rally mood. And it's also a car that I wouldn't be afraid to stuff people in the back, even though it's a little bit tight. It's definitely going to be more appealing to have that extra set of doors than putting them behind the seats in the GR Yaris. And also, the biggest thing for me is that triple exhaust setup. It just really adds a lot more character to this 1.6 litre motor, and it feels far more entertaining to drive around. Look, I love the GR Yaris, but again, that sound is something that a lot of owners have changed straight away. They got new exhaust setups, new downpipes, just to make this thing sound a bit more interesting. And thanks to that really unique triple exhaust setup, I don't think that's something you have to rush out and do straight away. I think this is a great car out of the box. Now remember, only 700 of these are available here in Australia for the next 12 months, and only 25 of the Morizo editions are coming here, which are more powerful, have a carbon roof, have no rear seats, and they're a bit more of a special edition. So these are going to be incredibly hard to get your hands on at a reasonable price. So if you are struggling to get your hands on one and you're happy to wait, or you need the car now, then you just jump into a GR Yaris if you can grab one, because this is a great car to start out on, and then you can sell that later on if you want to get into a bigger, more powerful GR product. But who knows? You might like that better, but personally, I'd say jump into a GR Corolla. Now, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more comparison reviews just like this, make sure you smash that subscribe button right there, and that will let me know that you want to see more of this on this channel. Thanks for watching. My name's Cameron. I'll see you in the next one.